Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the studios of Grafton TV, located at 26 Providence Road. This is Meet the Candidate. I'm Bob DeToma. My guest in studio today is Craig Dauphinais. He's running for the Select Board in town. He's probably a familiar face to many of you. Welcome aboard. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I'm going to give you a few minutes to just do a quick bio, because I'm sure now that the town has grown a little bit, there's some people out there who don't know who you are.
This is true.
Give us some background.
This is true. Okay, thank you. Thanks for having me again here today. As Bob said, my name is Craig Dauphinais. A little bit about me. I grew up in Grafton, spent my entire life here. Married a Grafton girl. Me and Carol have raised our 4 daughters here in Grafton. We all went through Grafton school systems. Let's see, what else? I've volunteered a lot in town. Like Bob said, I started out on the planning board back in the late 90s, spent 3 years there, and then took a short break and then went to the Board of Selectmen in 2004. So it's been 20 years since the first time I ran for election to the Select Board. I served 6 years and then took a break and then went back for another 6, ending my 4th term in 2019. Some other things that I've done when you're on the Select Board, you end up serving on a lot of committees. So I served on 2 school building committees, the Fire Station Building Committee in the center of town, Shared Services Committee, Economic Development Committee, Capital Improvement Planning Committee. It seems like, many committees through the years that I was able to serve on and serve with some really great people, and I think do some very good work on behalf of the taxpayers and the residents of Grafton. Other than that, I've coached youth sports, both baseball and Little League, as my kids are growing up, and even after, helping with Senior Ruth years ago. So coaching and serving the community is a real passion of mine. I'm a big believer in giving back. In my professional life, I've been in the construction industry for almost 40 years, managed many of those years. So, being a GM of concrete companies and construction outfits, managing people, being responsible for budgets, for P&L statements, for labor, personnel, a lot of administrative oversight. So that's kind of the skill set that I bring with me, both professionally and in my town service back to the board.
So you have a pretty strong background, which leads me to my question: when do you sleep?
Yeah, I know. I wrote a bio for our Facebook page. If you go on Craig for Grafton, I think it's called, my Facebook page. I was writing down some of the things that I've done, and I was tired just thinking about it. But I'm passionate about this town. I love this town, and I'm a big believer in giving back to it. So, because I always felt like it's public service, but it's enriched my life too. And I've done that in my work life. Now I run the Concrete Association for our industry in Massachusetts. So there's a lot of committee work like there is in the town. So I love working on committees. I love working with people, coming up with the best solutions based on as much information and as much input as we could possibly get for the betterment of whatever we're working on. And that's kind of how I operate. I like to listen to people. I like that mechanism, because when people come in and everybody's putting their best heart and their best mind forward, it's a powerful tool, committee work, and you can do some great things, and I've seen that in action through the years with a lot of the people that I was able to serve with and honored to serve with.
On your first stint at planning board years ago,
Yes.
do you think the topics that planning board is concerned with are the same, or have they changed dramatically over the years?
Well, so the planning board has 2 Bibles, right? They have the zoning bylaws, and then they have the subdivision rules and regulations. So those are the 2 documents that they use to run through an applicant, put an applicant through the process, and they have to check those boxes to make sure that, that they're doing the right thing, that they're following these rules and regulations that the town voted to adopt. There's a lot of detail in that, and I think the current planning board, spends a lot of time in that detail. So in that respect, I think it's the same. I think they're seeing a lot. The applicants are very different today than they probably were back in the late 90s. The subdivisions that are going up, I think, in some ways are very different than they were back then. The development that's going on in town. So, but I think basically fundamentally it's the same.
Yeah. Would you consider going back to the Little League?
I'd always consider going back to the. You mean to play or to coach?
Well,
Yeah.
I understand that sometimes Little League gets a little contentious. sometimes
Yeah.
people get a little.
Yes, I experienced that too. My
little
oldest
loud.
daughter played with the boys for a couple years through the prodding of her dad, and got to coach alongside of some great other men. And but yeah, that can get pretty serious too. But love Little League, and I'm a huge baseball guy, so yeah, would always consider coaching if somebody asked.
I was listening to people complain about the Red Sox before you walked in today.
Yeah,
So
well, everybody always can do that.
Yep. Yep. So you stepped away from select board in 2019, and
Yes.
and now here you are. You're back.
Here I am.
And
I
what
know.
what was the trigger?
So it's never one thing. I mean, for me, like, I really love this town, and I'm passionate about it. And so I've taken a break. I think the time is right for me. I have some time, and I want to continue to give back and participate in our government and in some community service. I think my skill set, just having a lot of 12 years of board experience, and my professional skill and experience, I think it lends to the select board. So that's kind of why I chose that. It could be other things, but and I know there'll be some other committee work that goes along with it if I'm elected. So I like that action. I like that group. And I think I have something to give. I have, like I said, a lot of that experience. So I'm hoping to bring that to the board. There's a pretty young board, and I've gone through what they're going through, a dozen times. So hopefully I can bring some history and some background to some of the issues and some of the agenda items that they're addressing.
What did Carol say when you told her you wanted to run?
So she thinks I'm crazy. So that was kind of the big question with, when you said, I think Bill said, "Why are you running?" And I said, well, I've gotten that question a lot, not just from my wife and my entire family, but from a lot of friends and supporters as well. They're like, "We're really glad that you're going back, but why would you do that?" Because they know it's stressful and it can be, adversarial, and I'm hoping that that's not the experience. I've experienced both, where it was a really healthy, board where everybody was, heart was in the right place, and we were doing really good work. And I've been on board, I've experienced, some difficult times too. So I always go to a meeting with the best of intentions and trying to do good work for the town, because that's why we're there, right? And we're still a small town, and we're representing, a pretty special place in my mind. So that's why I'm doing it. But yeah, I have a lot of questions like, why would you do that?
So do you have some specific items in mind that you'd like to tackle, or that you'd like to see a select board that you're a member of tackle?
I think I got to get in there and get my feet wet and get, I know some of the stuff that's going on in town. There's always the same things. There's always, trying to drive economic development, looking at residential growth and how we react to that as a community, how we provide services for people. The schools are, always a component of it. The budget overall is always, the budget season is always a grind. But it's all good work, and I enjoy every bit of it, and I love the big picture stuff too. Trying to plan, maybe trying to buy some parcels of land, or like I said, generate some more economic development to offset the tax burden that we seem to always have. So I'm ready to tackle whatever it is we can do, and to try and figure out ways to save people money, and and to see the town just grow. So.
Do you have some ideas just off the cuff as far as economic development is concerned, or from what you've seen maybe at some of the meetings, what was a good idea, what stuck out?
Yeah, no, it's always a tough one for Grafton, just because of our location and I think our limitations on some things. But up by Tufts is always, I think where we point our finger at first. The bio park area that we built the infrastructure for 20 years ago, and we've seen very little growth there. I'm hoping that we can see some more businesses come in and occupy that park. Other than that, it's tough. We're really residential based, tax based community. So, but we have to figure that out because we need it. We need it. Just for revenue, the tax formula for our schools in particular is not advantageous to Grafton. So it puts more burden on residents than what the state is really offering us. So we got to figure that out.
What have you seen about this year's budget process that might have piqued
So
your interest?
I haven't really looked at the budget process, to be honest with you, this year.
Well, you've been at some meetings. I've seen you there.
I've been to a couple of select board meetings,
Okay.
but there hasn't been really any budget discussions
Okay.
when I was there. So we have a budget process. It's a good process. The finance committee is going through the different departments and vetting what's been proposed to them. And Evan and his staff are obviously very heavily involved with that. So it's a good process. We need to let it take its course and see where they end up. Yeah, but I have faith in them.
Okay. I had a question about the way the town grows, and every time you see a new development, break ground.
Yeah.
And I often wonder about what's the process of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. It's like roads need to be repaired.
Yeah.
And yet we just keep adding to the population. And what's the process when someone says, okay, we're going to fix road X, Y, or Z? What's the process? Do you know that?
So sure.
I knew you would.
So we have one of the first override that we passed. Part of that override was for infrastructure because our roads were really in rough shape, right? So we had a study done, an engineering study, and they evaluated all the roads. And since then, we've been putting like $1.5 million a year into infrastructure. And I think, after the first 4 or 5 years, we could really see the improvement in the roads. Like, we have really good roads. Most towns don't, because the money that they get from the state is minimal and they can't do a lot with it. And unless you do something like really, allocate money to improve infrastructure, you're never going to gain on that, right? Some of these roads were cow paths,
Sure.
right? So they weren't built properly, so you don't get the longevity out of them. But we do have a committee that really works on that, and they look at the roads that we need to be done. They work with Brian Zirko from the town and the committee members, and they come up with a priority list of based on, I think, need, condition of the road, traffic, and all this stuff, and they allocate those funds every year. We put out an RFP for a paving, to a paving company to come in and to do the work that we need done. So that's been going on for probably, I don't know, it's got to be 7 or 8 years now. So that's how that gets done. But when we talk about development, towns are very reactive, and Grafton is no different. We have somebody put in a subdivision, and then we react as far as services, not just roads, but schools and police and fire and everything else that goes along with trash and everything that goes along with servicing, new homes in town. So, and now we're seeing a lot of big multifamily projects,
Sure.
which is, even a higher bar as far as services, because now we got to think about water and sewer too. And when these projects are built, it might take 5 years or more, 10 years to build, say, a subdivision that's got 30 or 40 homes in it. And now we're building these big multifamily structures, and they're going up very quickly, and we're seeing, 30, 40, 50 new residences within a year or two. So the reaction, the time that we have for planning is really cut back, and the demand for services is increased.
There's a lot of work in a small window.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's challenging. So we need to really be talking about that, and maybe the board isn't. I'm not sure if they're talking about demands on water and sewer and infrastructure and schools and all the other, we have 17 departments in town. So are those departments positioned to be able to service the demands that they're going to see?
Believe it or not, I'm going to give you the last couple of minutes to talk to the folks at home and make your appeal for the election. That's your camera over there.
All right. Well, thanks again, Bob, for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Bill, for coming in today. So I guess the only thing I can think of is really if you know me, you know how I've served the town, you know how I feel about this place, and you've probably seen me or served with me on a committee, and you know how I operate. I'm always thinking about the best interests of the town. This is not a self-serving job. This is about doing the work for the residents in this great community that we live in. I'm really proud to live here. That's why me and my wife are still here. We love this community and love the people that are here in it. If you don't know me, please reach out. You can message me through Facebook, or you can, I have a website you can look to. But if you have questions, concerns, you just want to know more about how I operate, or my style, or who I am, and why you would consider voting for me, please don't hesitate to reach out. And if you want to help with the campaign, you're welcome to do that too.
Thank you for coming in. Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time.
All right. Thank you, Bob.
On behalf of all the talented people that work here at Grafton Community Television, you've been watching Meet the Candidate. I'm Bob Datoma. Thank you for watching.